2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple, who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
I want to be a therapist. Is that okay if I'm still working recovery?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, it's good to see you today, man.
Hey, same to you. My brother, my eldest bro here. Oh, yeah, man. It's always good to see you.
It is. It's actually it's like one of the best things we've done since we started this podcast is to have, we usually record right at the beginning of my work week. So it's the perfect start to the work week every week.
And it energizes me, gets me going. So
it had to get you going at 5 a.m. where you're at right now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really energizing me today. So yeah, it's good to be here. So how's the fam? Good?
We're doing great. We just got done with our yearly backpacking trip to the Wind Rivers in Wyoming, and we got through it unscathed with no tickets and no injuries. So we're doing great.
But you didn't find the treasure up there.
I gave up the treasure hunt. I had, like I said, Brannon, I had to set a bottom line for myself that I wouldn't even look at the new clues because it was like too addicting for me. So I haven't even looked at clues for like 2 weeks of the Utah treasure hunt. I don't even know if it's been found yet.
Hey, shout out. We won't get into all this, but shout out to Fish. If he knew about the treasure hunt, he would get you going on it, and you would not stop.
Oh, man. So, yeah, this is a shout out to Fish. Fish, if you're listening, man, we love you. So
yes, we love you. Okay, should we get into this?
Yeah, let's get going today. We have Will with us today. Oh, I guess before we do that, Brannon, just a real quick mention because we're getting close on time. Rising Sun Retreat. Coming up September 19th through the 22nd, we have a discounted rate for a short time that's $500 off the pass. And the reason why we did that is because we're doing this drawing, and actually as we're recording this, we're 2 days away from when we're going to actually officially do the drawing, which is your birthday.
Right.
And we're going to give away that one pass to one of the people who signed up to be a caller in the last several weeks. But in addition to that, we wanted to be able to offer a little bit of a discount for those who have not only come on the show, but any listeners who are listening as well. risingsun.org. It's a pass. There's $500 off just for a short time right now. And there's a countdown that's going on there. So go to risingsun.org, look at what's going on there. And if you're interested in coming, sign up and come be a part of it with us. We'd love to have you.
Yeah. If you're not, like the price really will go up. So if you're on the fence of coming, then sign up now, because it is a significant discount. So love to see you there.
Yeah. All right, now let's get into it with Will. So Will's got a good question. Will, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you just kind of give us whatever background is pertinent and ask your question?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm just coming on the show today. I am in recovery from sexual addiction. I've been in recovery now for about 3 years. I actually just graduated college about a year back. And yeah, I've been out for a year, have been working in tech sales. I was a finance major in undergrad. But anyways, throughout my recovery journey, I don't know, I've just kind of felt I don't know if I describe it as a calling or just a desire to look into becoming a therapist to some capacity down the road. And the more I've thought about that, the more the question has surfaced in my mind, like, would it be okay to become a therapist if I'm in active recovery myself? And with that, my recovery journey, definitely been a lot of ups and downs. Have had some really great therapy, and have healed from a lot of trauma, but still am definitely working through the sobriety piece. And so just kind of wanted to get on and get your take on, if that would be a good idea or just your opinion on that.
Great, man. Yeah, well, glad you're on the show with us today. When you said you've been working recovery for 3 years, you've been doing a lot of your own therapy and you've had some good therapy, it sounds like. You're also asking what I'm maybe hearing behind your question is, can I be a good therapist and still be working on sobriety? Are you asking about being in recovery or are you asking about being sober?
I think a little bit of both. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think a little bit of both. I think the sobriety piece is probably what, scares me more. But at the same time, something else I've wrestled with is trying to do my own work while also like trying to help other people do their work. When it comes to trauma and just like, would that lead to burnout, or is that too much to handle for someone who is in active recovery?
What does inactive recovery mean? Like to you, Will, when you think about it, like what does that mean?
Yeah, I guess for me, just meaning like actively going to like 12-step groups, actively receiving therapy. I guess just being engaged in like the recovery community. I guess that's kind of what I was alluding to.
So yeah, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is being involved in some kind of work towards, bettering yourself when it comes to this issue. That's kind of what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Okay. It's funny because Tyler and I get this similar question all the time. And it's, people come on, they want to talk about recovery, and then they interchange recovery and sobriety, or they get into, look at all the things I'm doing. They have their checklist that they're doing. And I'm not saying you're doing this, Will, by any means, but this is where Tyler and I, pause for a second with people before we dive into the actual question to say, whoa, you want to talk about recovery? Are you actually in recovery? Do you actually understand what actual recovery truly is? Because that's important to then kind of inform the rest of our conversation. So does that make sense to you? Why we're kind of pausing here saying, whoa, like what is recovery?
Yeah, no, it does. And I think, when I first came into recovery, I was very heavy on the sobriety side, and obviously still am trying to get there. But just the more work I've done with my therapist, and I've been on a couple intensives, the more I've tried to kind of get into, the heart-based work and the trauma work. And so I think I understand what you're coming at from like true recovery, like doing the deeper work. Is that kind of like what you're referring to?
Referring to the deeper work of recovery, and also I think, not just the trauma work, the inner child work, the understanding and recovery of self kind of work. It's also the embracing of, what we might call the lifestyle of recovery, which is the pursuit of a wholehearted way of life, and not just the running from the addiction or the sobriety piece. Now, sobriety is important, and the reason I'm asking that is that, if you ask the question of, could I go be a therapist and help people with their own recoveries? Of course you can. If you're not sober yourself, you're going to have less confidence, and you're also going to have fewer people that are going to want to come find you for therapy. Right. So that's one part of the question. But I think what Brannon's alluding to is, what's your idea of what it means to actually be working in or in recovery? Because if you've grasped the complete principles of, this is a lifestyle change, this is the pursuit of connection with God, other people, self, heart, and mind. This is me becoming and stepping into what my life calling is and my purpose and having an adventure. And it's not just like, man, I'm still fighting for sobriety every single day, and that's it. And that's what recovery is. You could be a therapist that way, but Brannon and I happen to have a different idea of what real recovery is. That's all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, and I think that's, the past couple of years, more of where my journey has shifted is more like the lifestyle change, focusing on that aspect. And like I said before, still obviously want the sobriety and pursuing that, but I'm trying to focus more on, the connection piece and some of the deeper work, like you guys have talked about.
This question, this isn't tongue in cheek, but it might sound like it a little bit. So, but Will, like, in your mind, do you have a time frame of sobriety that you need to hit in order to actually become a therapist?
I don't know if I have like a time frame, but I think I think personally I would like to have around 6 months to a year to feel like, okay, I'm trending in the right direction with sobriety. Right now it's been kind of spotty. Sometimes I'll have a couple weeks, sometimes I'll get a couple months. Just kind of all over the place, to be honest, at the moment.
Okay. So you do kind of have an idea. Here's the thing, Will. There's some truth to your train of thought. And I think, like, in order to help people, you need to be healthy yourself. If you're gonna be the most effective therapist that you can be, then you need to like do your own work. So there's some truth to that. On the other hand, the other side of it, and this is coming from a guy who is a therapist, a guy who has a brother who's a therapist, a guy who hires and trains therapists and works with 25 therapists in my clinic. I've never once ever met a perfect therapist who's perfect in their personal life. And so, and you know that, right? Like, you understand that. So there's this balance between, yes, I'm open to working on myself. But I think when Tyler and I talk about recovery, what we talk about is this ongoing process of self-discovery. And so when there's a finite marker in order to say, yes, I need to hit this for sure in order to be effective, I don't think you'll ever hit all of your markers in order to be good enough to be a therapist. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I do. And I've thought about that too. Like, what if, you become a therapist and then you have a slip or a relapse or something like that? And so, yeah, I think, I think I see what you're saying.
It's what Brennan's really talking about is, and I love this word, but there's a dialectic in what he just said. Too many people, and this is my opinion, and Brannon can maybe disagree with me. Too many people go to become a therapist, and the becoming of the therapist is them doing their own work, and they're actually not that healthy, and they end up actually not being very good therapists because they're becoming therapists in order to try to make themselves healthier. Now, on the other hand, everyone needs to be a work in progress. I mean, I'm honestly I'm openly in my own recovery, right? I've been actively working my own recovery for the last 18, 20 years, whatever it is now. If I needed to wait until I was absolutely completely perfect in order to become a therapist, I would never be able to go and develop and help the people that I've been able to help so far. Right. And so there's this weird mix of, and that's why I'm saying I think Brandon's got a point. Like, part of recovery is sobriety, and you'd be better off and you'd be able to serve your population better and you'd be a more effective therapist if you knew how to be sober. Right. Like, you're not going to have a lot of guys showing up being like, hey, I want to work recovery and I need to get sober. And you're like, well, me too. Let's do this together. Like, let's figure this out and go on this journey together. Now, on the other hand, you can't be the guy who's like so scared of relapsing because it ruins your whole career that you can't just go and live your life. Right. And I think in any part of recovery, this is a true part of recovery is that if you really embrace the 12 steps at any given point in your recovery, eventually there will be people that you are looking up to and you're trying to emulate more as a result of them being your mentors and your teachers and your guides. And you will also have people who will be maybe below you on the ladder looking up to you, and you're going to be reaching down to lift them as you go. And when you get to those later steps in the 12 steps, that's really what this is about. And that leads to maybe the second question that I had for you is, and this is maybe more to the core of your heart, is what is it that's drawing you to even consider or want to be a therapist? Why is this going through you? What's moving you to do this?
Yeah, I think really what started, I think that desire is working with my own therapist. He's a CSTAT just based here in Birmingham. And I actually emailed him when I was in college, just like out of the blue. I heard about him through a 12-step group I was working, and he had me in his office. And at the time, I definitely could not afford therapy. And he virtually offered to see me for free. And he's been working with me now for about 2 years. And he's just become, a mentor and also just a really good friend. And with him, I've done, a couple of different kinds of therapy. We've done a lot of like IFS stuff, some EMDR, and just experiencing like shifts in my experience and in my body, like in those exercises, I think is what really was like, whoa, like recovery is so much more than just sobriety. It's about life change, and I can experience life differently. And I just kind of started falling in love with that deeper trauma work, started reading some books on it, and just really feel really interested in it. And to give even more context to, I was a finance major in college, and going into college, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. My grandparents ended up paying for my tuition, and with that, they kind of forced me into a business degree. It's kind of a long story, but my granddad's a very successful businessman, and they very much put a lot of pressure on me to do that. And so, anyways, I kind of caved. I did it. I didn't love it, to be honest. And it just felt like I didn't really have a choice at the time. And so now that I'm out of school and I'm kind of, providing for myself and doing my own work and discovering more of who I really am, I'm kind of like, man, I don't know if I'm doing the thing that I really want to do with my life. And to some degree, it feels like I'm doing the thing, my family wants me to do, and it's not really something I want to do. And so I think that's a little bit more context to go with that.
How does that affect your own recovery, Will?
You're saying like,
I'm wondering if there's any type of an impact or connection to your recovery work and the feeling that you have of trying to live up to granddad's or parents' expectations, and it doesn't feel like that's actually what you're being called to.
yeah, to be honest, it's been a huge struggle. I struggled a lot in my finance classes. I didn't feel like I was a very I don't know, like analytics was not my strong suit. And so I felt like, I don't know, I was just, yeah, trying so hard to win their approval and trying to like, get to this, I don't know, this place that I can never really get to, chasing that acceptance and affirmation. And yeah, it's like I'm out of school now. I have my degree. I'm been working for a year, and just like, man, I don't think this is really what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, I think it's been challenging, and I think there's some pretty deep roots.
Sounds like you're in a little bit of a bind there, because you have people that you want to live up to and impress. You also have the pressure of having used their finances to become someone they expected you to be, but you're not feeling authentic or like you're living with congruence or integrity to who you're called to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I wonder if that's connected to if I was in your shoes, I wouldn't want to stay sober either.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, and I actually mentioned to my mom when I was in college, when I was struggling, like, I remember saying, hey, like, I don't know if business is for me. Maybe I should try something like psychology. I don't know. And this is before I was even in recovery, but I just remember her virtually telling me like, well, your grandparents are paying for your degree, so you need to do something that has a good return on their investment. And it very much felt like, oh, like, okay, like I have to, I don't know, pay them back somehow. Yeah.
Will, do you have a belief in God?
I do. I'm a Christian. My family is they're not Christians though. That's another kind of aspect of that.
Oh, interesting. So you differ in your beliefs with them. That's
spiritually.
I do. Yeah.
That's interesting, because my question is if grandma and grandpa want you to go in one direction and God wants you to go in another, who should you listen to?
Definitely God.
I mean, it seems kind of obvious,
Yeah, right.
I have an undergrad degree in economics, and I never planned to be a therapist, never really wanted to, and somehow like God called me into this, and I couldn't get out of it, but it was like a calling. And I remember telling some people, like, yeah, I think I was talking to Tyler, and he's like trying to talk me into be a therapist, not that much, but and so I went and told some people I'm going to go get a master's in social work, and they looked at me like, oh yeah, enjoy your $30,000 a year, like, and not being able to really raise your family, like, have fun, And I just thought, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that because of that reason. But then there was all these other reasons that were like, you were built for this. God needs you there. You'll find a way. You'll figure this out. And I had to listen. So I actually love your answer to Tyler's question of why are you doing this? You're giving the answer. Like, a lot of people don't know what they're called to do. A lot of people search for this forever. You have an answer, but there's hurdles and there's barriers. And that just proves to me more so that you have an answer.
How does that sit with you, Will?
Yeah, I think it's good to hear you guys say that, and to just hear that from, I guess, an outsider's perspective, because I think it is really hard when like you're still kind of I don't know, enmeshed with the family to some degree. And it's like, there's just kind of this like push and pull. It's like, part of me wants to go back and do this. And there's another part of me that's like terrified of, man, like my parents and my family might completely reject me and criticize me. And I'm not expecting to receive any kind of, financial support or assistance, which is intimidating. And to give you more context, my parents are divorced, don't know my dad. So I grew up with my mom. She's a teacher. She grew up very poor. And like I said, the grandparents were very wealthy. And so they very much, supported financially. And honestly, as a kid, I kind of looked up to them as like I guess me and my siblings kind of viewed them as like our savior because we were so poor, and they bought all of our clothes and paid for school, paid for my college. And so there's very much this buy now of, potentially causing some conflict with them, which feels intimidating. But I think, like Brandon said, I don't know, it just feels more authentic to who I am than what I'm doing now.
Go ahead, Brannon.
Well, I'm just hearing two things. What you said is really interesting to me. I'm hearing that maybe you don't trust that you can support yourself on your own. And so like being dependent on them is kind of the end all be all, like that needs to happen. And then I'm also wondering, is your addiction just a manager part or like an excuse to say, yeah, I shouldn't go for what my calling is. And so I can use this addiction thing because I have all these other fears going on. So, what do you know? I can relapse every so often.
I can't be a therapist now.
I can't do it.
Sorry, God.
I'm not healthy enough. Like I can't do it. So there's this reason to not go and do this because you have this fear of losing their support.
Yeah, I think that's pretty spot on. And I think the fear is there because I've just been dependent on them my entire life. And especially growing up when my mom's raising 3 kids as a health teacher, and very much she was reliant on them. And so I was too. And so I think there is just a lot of fear that's surfacing. And I think a lot of my addiction is probably rooted in some of that stuff too.
I'm not saying this is right, Will. It's just an interesting maybe observation for you to consider. And I could be totally wrong on this. And Brannon, I want to hear your thoughts on this too. But when we think of like the John Eldredge concept of wild at heart, and hopefully you've read that book, Will. If you haven't, I'd recommend that you do as a Christian man. Listen to the layers, Brannon. If we think hero's journey, he's got trauma from parents' divorce, being raised poor without a father. His father figure is his grandfather, who he also respects and loves and provides for him, he even used the word savior. And now Will is being called by God, not the same religion as his family, pressure to perform financially because of what's been given to him by his family, and God saying, hey, the wilderness is over here, and I need you to go into the wilderness, Will. Like, I need you to come, and I need you to let me make you the instrument that you were designed to be. And part of that is your own recovery work. Like, your recovery work is part of what's molding you into this instrument that I need for you to use you over here. And now there's this call, and you've got to step into the wilderness and into the cave from the very places that you've been holding all of your woundedness. Like, that's a big ask, man. Like, it makes so much sense why you're on the show today going, God, I kind of feel this thing on the inside. And that's why your answer really matters. And I'm glad Brannon asked the question about God, because to make a decision like the one you're trying to make, it has to come almost from an endorsement from something bigger than yourself. There won't be enough courage otherwise. There has to be a calling. There has to be a meaning. There has to be a purpose. And I personally, I still relate to your story. I knew I wanted to be a therapist long before I started working my recovery, but the recovery just cemented it all and was like, Tyler, this is your calling. Like, this is what you do. Like, and both Brannon and I, like, I remember coming home from graduate school like the second week, and I came home in tears to my wife, and I was like, I should have researched this because I know it's a life calling, but do you know how much we're going to make out of grad school? Like, we're not making any money out of grad school. And now I'm sitting here looking at you, and both Brannon and I make a decent living for ourselves. We do fine. And I'm looking at you, and maybe grandma and grandpa's pressure to get that finance and business degree is exactly part of the recipe of what's going to allow you to be highly successful when you go follow your calling to become a therapist. Because believe it or not, there are some therapists who actually do very well for themselves, Will. And they become businessmen too, and not just therapists, and they have influence because they can use the resources to help people. And from an outside perspective, hearing you talk and hearing where your heart's at, it definitely needs to be endorsed by God, your relationship with God, but you're going to be tormented by this calling until you actually follow through with stepping over the threshold.
Yeah, I think I've already felt that, honestly, the past year and a half. I've really, really felt that. And so, yeah, it's funny. I felt it for a while, but I haven't really actually considered it, to be honest. It's always been like, yeah, like, that'd be great, but, the circumstances just don't allow for it. And my therapist has actually challenged me to just explore it and consider it and just have an open mind. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to have an open mind and explore it. And
dude, I'm having images of, Jonah and the whale. Like, Jonah's called to go to Nineveh, and he goes to teach people, and they don't really want him there. And he's like, I don't want to go to Nineveh. I'm out. Like, then he goes and gets swallowed by the whale, right? And he's like, disappears, and he's in hiding, and he's in hell forever until finally he agrees to just go live his calling. And he gets spit back up and goes back to Nineveh and does what he was called to do. And I think you're going to have that internal and emotional torment, which is not a bad thing. That's going to be a thing that will move you to action eventually. But you can't avoid that. You have to listen to that.
Will, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Okay. And if we were doing therapy, then I'd take a lot more time to help you realize this yourself, but I'm just going to kind of go there and say this. I take my kids skiing every winter, and my kids think it's about like being in the snow and riding down the mountain. And that's why I take them. I take them skiing so I can sit on a ski lift with them and talk to them about what's going on in life. Tyler shares this video about fishing. And it's this dad basically saying, like, yeah, he thinks that, I don't know if you share that video, Tyler, if it's like a Brad Paisley song, but like, but like, he thinks that we're going fishing, that this is about fishing. This isn't about fishing. And so, like, here's the secret, Will, if you look at your situation, God is so working on you. And this very issue that you're talking about in terms of should you go step into your calling, your purpose or not, you're going to have to deal with your father wounds and your other wounds and your trauma in order to actually get in alignment with your truth. And so God has set up some scenarios for you to have to really look yourself in the mirror as a man and say, who am I? Am I just who my grandfather says I should be? Or do I get to actually discover who I am? Which could be terrifying considering the father wounds that you have. So God has got you on a ski lift. You think you're going to just ride down a mountain, but it's about God sitting there with you, holding you as you're figuring out who you are. So it's beautiful. Like this whole scenario, this talk about recovery work. This is the real recovery work.
This is the recovery of your heart work. God's pushing you into this. What are you feeling and thinking, Will?
Yeah, I just feel like what you guys are saying is definitely connecting with uh, how I feel and how I felt for a while. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just the deeper I go into recovery, the more I realize how much I have just kind of lived my life for them and have just avoided conflict at all costs. And yeah, it does feel like I don't know. I mean, oh yeah, I don't know. It definitely does feel like there's some kind of pull or draw um, to this as I've done my own work. Yeah. So I think what you guys are saying is lining up a lot.
You, oh, go ahead, Tyler,
I was
please.
just going to say it's really not uncommon for people who are working something like recovery. I mean, how many times, Brandon, do you hear one of our clients go, I'm going to go be a coach, or I'm going to go be a therapist myself after they've been working recovery? It's like, it's very common. And the reason why is because when you go through a process that recovery demands, it changes you. And when it changes you, you start to see hope and light, and you start to develop a new life, and you have the natural tendency that every other human being has to, when you find something good, you want to share it. And another part of that is that you want to have what you've been through mean something. When you go through the kind of hell it takes to get into good recovery, you can't just go to get back to normal. You have to go to get somewhere different. And so a lot of people find meaning in wanting to share the things that they've learned. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's part of being human. For a lot of people, it's a normal thing. So go ahead, Brannon.
Well, yeah, I was just, I'm just thinking about all the wounds, and we've kind of brushed past, like, yeah, my dad wasn't there, or I didn't have a dad. That's a big one, Will, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a relationship with him at all? Do you have?
No, so yeah, so parents got divorced when I was about 5 years old. And so my dad, kind of on and off, my mom had full custody. However, there was some like physical abuse going on. And so we actually had like restraining orders against him growing up, and tried to kind of reconnect with him once I actually came to faith, because I thought at the time, like, okay, like I'm a Christian and I'm called to go and witness to him. And so I actually tried to kind of rekindle the relationship. And as I started doing that, I kind of just, I don't know, I broke down, and I realized, like, man, this is too much for me right now. Like I haven't worked through any of this, and he's not a safe person to me. And so I don't feel like this is good. And so I actually ended up cutting him out about 2 years back, and haven't spoken with them.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm sure we could really dig in here. But what I am hearing is a lot of wounds. And so what that means is, usually how that translates is to a 23-year-old man of who am I really? And the addiction comes along, and it actually provides you an opportunity to stop and ask that question if you actually want to get into recovery, and then deal with those wounds on those deeper levels. And so here you are, like, working your recovery, and it's leading you to this life purpose. And you have the eyes of grandma and grandpa there saying, are you going to do something that we approve of? Are you okay? And I think it could be extremely hard to go through all that rejection that you've gone through with your father, to then be looking at people that you love and thinking, you could disapprove of me.
Yeah, for sure.
And they love
Yeah.
him too. The reason why they're pressing him into being a financial guy or whatever is because they want him to be successful. They love him.
Right. And they've paid for your tuition. They want you to be successful. So then it's like, wow, like I'm turning my back on people who have supported me all the way through when my father hasn't been there. Right.
Yeah.
to get to that point of, you know what, like, I'm going to have courage enough to know that I'm going to step into some faith here, do what God's calling me to do, and all this is going to work out the way that it needs to. This is what I mean. You got to deal with your wounds in order to do that. You got to deal with all the threshold guardians or demons or fears or whatever we want to call it in order to do that. But dealing with those things is the beautiful part. That's where you'll reclaim your heart and know that God has you. Right.
And when you come to know that God has you, when you face those demons that Brannon's talking about, what ends up happening is each time you take an act of courage and you step into facing one of those demons, when you wrestle with it, when you make peace with it, when you come to understand it, you walk away with new information, and oftentimes there's a new layer that gets peeled back, and inside that layer there's a gift from God, and the gift from God is a new name. And that new name becomes, some of my names from God are teacher, guide, healer. Those have only been uncovered by facing the demons. And you're going to start to see that and hear that. You're going to hear it from other people. You're going to hear it in your mind's eye. You have it impressed on you from a song that gets played. It's going to come from a lot of different places, but God's going to start to actually tell you who you are. And when you start to receive those impressions and those names, then you'll be convicted into new action. You'll have to take new action because you'll have to accept the new name. So Grandpa gave you the name of financial guy, but you have God telling you other names. And when you accept those new names, that accepting of that new name comes with an act of faith, a new step, a new layer to uncover, a new guardian Brannon's talking about, a new demon to face, a new cave to enter, and the treasure. The treasure is often that impression of, this is I, this is me. It's a complete feeling of an acceptance of who God says I am. It's congruency. It's integrity. That's what it is. And it's a systematic process that Brannon's talking about.
And everything Tyler said is absolutely true. And it's not perfection.
Nope. It's process.
Right? It's knowing that's who you are and then being human and stumbling along the way. And, your recovery will start to set into place in terms of I no longer use this addiction in order to avoid my callings. I no longer do that anymore.
Your addiction is the whale. You got to get out of the whale, man.
How are you feeling, Will, as we're talking about this? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I think I'm feeling better just after talking to you guys. I think in my head I was like, man, is this just a crazy idea I'm having? Is this just me or is this God? I think I've wrestled with that, hearing the Lord's voice and trying to understand, is this actually God or is this just my own intuition, which I know is a totally different topic, but it's good to hear some affirmation from some guys that I really look up to. And I've been listening to you guys for a while, and that means a lot, you guys saying that.
I think it's important that whatever we say is only just a couple of dudes giving their opinions on things. And ultimately, Will, you still have to go run that through your own filter and your own relationship with God. But when you get those impressions, you got to follow the impressions.
Yeah, right.
And you've gotten the impressions. You know the answer. And now it's just, okay, now I got to deal with the fear. And it's, it is as easy as just making that decision of look, I feel good about this. I'm moving forward. But then the little things will come up. The things at Sunday dinner with the family and grandma and grandpa ask you a question about what's going on in your life.
Yeah. I'm in my master's degree to be a social worker.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. Like I'm gonna go get a master's in social work, you know. I mean, you could get a master's in psychology. That sounds, better to people who actually know. But the truth is, an MSW is an awesome degree. Um, but like the little things will come up, the little fears will come up, and the little opportunities to sabotage. The addiction provides just an ample supply of sabotage to all of this, and so you'll have an opportunity to say, like, I'm not going to sabotage this. I'm moving toward this now. I'm working toward this, and now you might have a slip up, and it's like, okay, part of that slip up is actually part of the process of me moving toward this. Like I'm moving toward it. That's where I'm going, versus sitting on this fence.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot what episode it was, but I listened to one, Brandon, where you were talking about like risk. And I think that opened my eyes a lot to, I think I've struggled throughout my life to take risks because, growing up, it just felt like if I took a risk and it went, awry, like that would be too much to handle with just all the trauma and my family situation. And so I think a big part of my own recovery journey now is learning to take risks, and, to step into the unknown. So.
Could I share something a little personal that just happened over the weekend? Will, I don't know why I had this, but now I think I do. I went backpacking with my family, and on like the third night up in the mountains, I woke up and sometimes I have these really weird dreams. I often don't have any dreams at all, but when I do, they seem impactful. And I woke up, and I often have like either scriptures or phrases kind of burned in the front of my mind on the back of my eyelids when I wake up. And the one that I woke up with a couple of days ago was "For the love of God." And I've been wrestling with, why would I wake up with "For the love of God"? And right now, Will, I think this is the reason why. It's for you. For the love of God, go be a therapist. And what I mean by that is, I don't mean for God to love you, go be a therapist. That's not what I mean. What I mean is, for your love of God, go take the action that he's calling you to. For the love of God, Will, go be a therapist.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Tyler,
yeah.
When you say that, like, I think of like, for the love of God, please go be a therapist. And like, that's how I'm feeling. Like, we need comrades in this battle. We need men who are finding their hearts. And Will, you're like, you have a choice right now, and you'll look back 10, 20 years from now and think, like, did I step into this calling? Did I do it? And I am pleading with you.
For the love of God,
give up your addiction. God, please. Yes.
Give up your addiction and go be a therapist, Will.
Yeah, we need you.
Yeah.
So we need you in the battle with us.
You probably got more than you bargained for, Will. Yeah. Thank you, Will, for your willingness to come on and have this discussion with us today. It probably went different directions than maybe you were anticipating. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me on. It was super fun to talk with you guys.
Will, you're the man. I'd love to hear how things go. Would love to have you on again, or just check in with us, just to see the direction that this goes in. So I'm excited for you.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good.
Thank you, Will. We love having callers like you. You slid in right under the radar for the drawing. So we'll be having a drawing in a couple of days. Maybe we'll get to see you in person at the Rising Sun. But for those of you guys listening, hopefully this stirred something inside of you. Maybe you're thinking about your own life and your own course and what God's calling you to. And if you're having those kinds of impressions, listen to what they're saying, and then consider what Brannon said about stepping through the threshold and facing those things. Because it may be a calling that you're receiving as well. Maybe not to be a therapist, maybe it's something new, but thank you. Thank you, Will, for providing us an opportunity for that discussion, and thank you to our listeners for being here. And until next time, you guys, keep on keeping on.